We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order at 5:33. Not bad at all. And if you want to go ahead and do roll call.
Dan Spade.
Here.
Mike Baker.
There.
Tom Trotter.
Here.
Bonnie Rainbow.
Here.
Doug Mendenhall.
Here.
And Michaela Henderson. Here.
All right, and Tim, do you want to lead us in the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And next we come to swearing in of our newly elected officials. So Christina's going to go ahead and take care of that. She's in the way.
Let's go first. Okay. So if you want to stand, okay. So just for your oath of office, it is just repeat after me and
It just feels more official.
with everyone. So I state your name. I do solemnly swear. That I will support the Constitution of the United States of America. That I will support the Constitution of the United States of America. The Constitution of the State of Oregon. The Constitution of the State. And the laws thereof. And that I will faithfully and honorably perform the duties of the Public Transportation District Director, to which I have been appointed, to the best of my ability, so help me God. So, okay, thank you. Thank you, Marcus. There you go. Let's go next.
You need my license.
Okay. So, Doug. Same thing with you. So I state your name.
I, Doug Mendenhall,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Oregon,
the Constitution of the State of Oregon,
and the laws thereof,
and the laws thereof,
and that I will faithfully and honorably perform
and that I will faithfully and honorably perform
the duties of
the duties of
Umpqua Public Transportation District
Umpqua Public Transportation District
Director,
Director,
to which I have been appointed
to which I've been appointed
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
There you
Congratulations, welcome
go.
to.
All right,
All right.
one more time, let's do this. I state your name.
I, Thomas Trotter,
Do solemnly
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States of America,
of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Oregon,
the Constitution of the State of Oregon,
and the laws thereof,
and the laws thereof,
and that I will faithfully and honorably
and I will faithfully and honorably
perform the duties of
perform the duties of
Umpqua Public Transportation District
Umpqua Public Transportation District
Director,
Director,
to which I have been appointed
to which I have been appointed
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Welcome back.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Okay, and our next order of business is an election of board officers. Do we have any nominations for chair?
Nominate Sarah for chair.
I'll second that.
Yeah, so there's a vote, then there's a vote.
But you are allowed to nominate yourself.
Oh,
yeah.
I knew that was something you were interested
well, I'm a cool one. I'll nominate myself, I guess, too.
I'll second that.
in.
Okay, so
Almost.
yeah.
Super confused.
Oh, I don't know, I'm sorry, I'm not used to doing this. So now, are there any more nominations? And do we now take a vote? All those, oh, okay, all those in favor of Sarah Thompson? Okay, and all of those, I guess opposed? Or just in favor of
Just in favor.
Tom? Okay, all those in favor of Tom?
Yeah.
Aye.
Yeah.
Okay, the ayes have it. Now, Tom, I'm gonna let you take it in here for vice chair.
All right, do I have a nomination for vice chair?
I nominate Sarah.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Am I taking Lonnie as a second, or am I taking Janice as a
I
second?
think Janice was first.
I was first.
Okay,
So now we take a vote.
I'm just quiet.
Yeah, you just basically just close the nominations then and then.
Okay, so
Yeah.
close the nominations and take a vote for vice chair for Sarah Thompson.
Those in favor?
Those in favor? Aye.
I.
Sounds like it was unanimous.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, next business is the consent agenda, 6.1. Does anybody have any questions or concerns?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
And the chair second?
No.
Okay,
I second.
all right, Jan seconds.
Here's Switzerland.
And
Yeah.
so we, if satisfied, can I have a motion? Well, we have a motion to approve the consent agendas. All those in favor? Say aye.
I.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed?
You guys can abstain if you want. You need to in here.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, motion carries. Okay,
Those guys after the first.
yeah. All right, so the next item of business is item 6.2, June preventive maintenance report.
Oh, is it separated out?
No, it's the
No.
financial report.
Oh,
That's part of the consent agenda.
oh, that was already there. That was already covered. Next order of business is item 7.1, June financial reports.
Okay, and Sherry is out on a much needed vacation this week. Are there any questions that anyone has regarding the financial report?
Year to date, it looks like we're at 92.73%
Yes.
for that and the budget. And where's that other 121,000 go? Does that just drops to the ending balance?
Which one are you looking at?
Just the total.
Page 4, right?
Basically the difference is, yeah, on page 4. 121,917,000 unless there was more with revenue. I didn't really look at the revenue piece, but
So. Are you? Sorry.
Look at the materials and services.
it just ends up in our ending balance, I think. Yeah, if you look at the materials and services at the bottom, second bold, not bolded, but underlined. And it's the third second.
Okay, so I believe that one, materials and services is for operations. Right? Oh, I am so sorry, I wasn't quite prepared. I had looked in this in a much different way.
Well, I just was kind of looking at the end, no big deal. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's ending balance. But
In the balance, yes. What I do know is that our accrual is includes all of our Our requested reimbursements for Q2, Q3 and Q4. Although some of them are delayed and I know that once we receive all of the money that is requested in expense reimbursements, our bank account will be back to 1.2.
That probably because of the person at PTD is on vacation. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And we haven't actually requested Q4 reimbursements yet. As a report is not filed yet. But I do have a list of all of the reimbursements that we requested.
Yes, the net income includes money we haven't been reimbursed for, right?
Yes,
And that's why the checking balance and what it is. Okay.
yes. There is a holdup on 5311 funds. So we actually have a reimbursement for 90,332 for both Q3 and Q4 that have not yet come through. And apparently ODOT is still waiting for money from the feds to fund these. So when we talked with Jennifer Boardman about that, she indicated that we should be receiving those funds within the next couple of weeks. And I was not part of that conversation, so I'm not sure what the cause of the holdup was.
Well, I think they're short on federal staff too.
I think so. There's a whole list of available.
Keep getting bounced around to different folks over there.
Yeah. All righty.
Are you going to have the bank statements on every financial report attached to it?
I can do that if you'd like that. We had looked at doing it every quarter. But we started attaching that as part of a check and balance to ensure that you guys are aware of what is on the bank statement.
I think that's fine, but I think we should black out the account number since it's a public record.
Oh, yes, that's probably a really good idea.
Oh, yeah.
And so even on this one, when you post it, I would black out the account number on that bank statement.
Mhm.
Put a marker right
Is
there.
it on there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
somebody
couldn't
that,
find it, I tried.
page 1.
First page.
Well, it's a good thing it's a lockdown
Yeah.
account.
Is there any additional discussion for June financial report? Do I have a motion to approve the June financial report?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Second,
Okay. All those in favor of the, I believe it's Michaela.
Sorry, guys, I just spent 10 hours with 2 toddlers, so.
That's right. Okay, so all those in favor of the June financial report, say aye.
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 All those opposed or abstain?
I'll abstain.
That's good.
Okay. We move on to public comment for on agenda items only.
The public,
We have one public.
Catherine's up there. Yeah, I believe that's Kath, probably. Says Catherine, but. Any public comment from the online folks? No public comments. All right. Well, if no public comment, we'll go on to old business, item 9.1, yearly review.
The protocols, bylaws and protocols.
Has everybody had a opportunity to read through this?
Not the protocols, but the bylaws, I did read.
As I understand, there's no additional changes made. I noticed when reading through your, it did say 2 years for the board chair. Didn't we at one point change that to 1 year? Or was that not the case?
It was did it say 2 years in here?
I thought I read 2 years.
It was 2 years to begin with, and that's typical.
Oh.
But at one point they did change it to 1 year. One thing that we had
I
done
thought
in
we
the,
changed it back.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah.
oh yeah, maybe
That was
last
at
year.
that was at,
Yeah. I know that in the past that, the board members have taken the, bylaws and protocols home to, pencil in and send to Christine the proposed changes if they had any.
Yeah.
And, or you guys can go ahead and go through it right now.
Yeah.
Mhm. And when it says a limit of 2 years, is that like you can't run again or?
We talked about that in the past.
it's 2 years in a row,
Okay,
basically.
and then no more running.
And then you could have another chair, then you can run again
Okay.
and after that, yeah.
Okay.
So like not consecutive.
Perfect.
Just so that there's some change, yeah. But yeah, we probably ought to put the thing, the issue that we ran into today.
Mhm. I was
Which,
thinking that.
Oh, yeah.
So most of the time, it's the person that served the longest on the board, then whoever has so you go back to the date of that, and then that person fills in when both the chair and the vice chair are missing, so they usually win the meeting. That's how that
Oh.
works.
Gotcha.
That's how it's been in
So then
that
it
city
would have gone
councils and
to
other
you.
boards I've been on. It would, and I don't really care, but it's,
No,
but
that would
it's,
have been nice.
but that's typically, yeah, that's typically how it would,
Okay.
on that.
So that's something that,
It's not something that happens very often, but
no, but it typically, it happens every election now.
Mhm.
so
You can.
it doesn't have to. So while we waited to swear them in as part of the meeting, that swearing in could have taken place at any time. It's not required to take place in a meeting, so you could have done it on a different day, could have done it before the meeting. We could have done it and then had a quorum and then just started that business too. I mean, there's different ways we could do that. But when I was on the council, we just came in on a different special day and wasn't on a council meeting, we just
Mhm.
you get sworn in. And then other ones, yeah, but you know, you can do it as a board meeting, it may work just fine, but. You know, we only did 3 board members this time, but next time it's 4 board members.
Oh, right.
Mhm.
Yeah, so you have the whole,
So
you have
So then
you have a
how
quorum,
exactly does
basically.
the board want to do that going forward?
Personally, I think it'd be better if we did it on a different day before the, you know, the beginning of July, before the board meeting. So that way you always have a full quorum of, or full board of 7.
Mhm.
Because potentially, you know, there's 4 of us that are there and there's only 3 board members and you don't have a quorum,
Yeah.
you can't conduct business.
Could you do it when you get the certified election results on the previous board meeting?
I can do it anywhere from the first forward.
Yeah, just after the 1st of July,
Yeah, and it
before the
does
first
not
board
have to
meeting.
be, it does not have to be a recorded thing because I'm a representative of the Secretary of State, so.
And ideally you do it as soon as, you know, you can, so July 1st.
Yeah.
Or, you know, if it's if that's a weekend or something, the first working day. Because that way, if there's an issue that pops up that needs board attention, it's an emergency or something like that.
I
the
can
board has
still
to
do it, I can
convene.
still do it from the first forward,
Yeah.
just because
Yeah.
that's what I'm
It would also-
required to do.
It would also be helpful coming in to have some of this, look over
Mhm.
well in advance, coming to a meeting.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're gonna get hit with lots of numbers on the, you know, the
yeah.
5310s, 11s, the 5339s,
Yeah.
Drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah.
Okay, we can do it.
Yes.
Yeah, I did contact the county clerk about that
Yeah.
because the term ended, I saw on the 1st, and then we still hadn't been sworn in, so. Yeah, he said that you guys would do it at the meeting.
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, that's how we've done it this whole time, because when the first time I had to do it, I had gotten direction from him.
Yeah.
From the original county clerk,
Mhm.
and that's where I've received all the the certificates and everything.
Yeah.
With the oath and everything was
Yeah.
directly from them, so.
Mhm.
But me as a notary public, I can do it on the first, doesn't matter if it's on a Sunday at 1 o'clock. Because I am a notary public, and I do it for free, I can do it. at
Yeah,
any point.
yeah, I mean, I just think ideally, it's just, maybe it's just contacting those that were elected and just saying, hey, what works out, and arranging
Yeah,
the quickest time possible to do that, but, cause you got plenty, you got, elections in May, so you got a month and a half, basically.
That still wouldn't resolve the issue if there's no vice chair though, right?
Yeah, it's only if the chair and the vice chair are gone,
Yeah,
then it usually defaults to the longest serving
but, so
person.
that was one thing.
And then it defaults to, because now there might be 3 or 4 people that were the longest serving because they're all
Elected at
on
the
at the
same
same time.
time.
And then you start going like alphabetical order,
Yeah.
or no,
We
it
just
wasn't
rolled the
alphabetical order,
dice
it was by
for a
age.
number.
So do we need to make
Yeah,
a
it was
motion
by
to add?
That,
We do.
well, this.
I got
it
into
all
that
has to- it
situation
all
once.
has to be- there.
So
It-
table it for now, or?
No, it all has to be amended in there.
And there's probably a time that we need, usually toward the end of it's not a 30-day.
So all 3 of those points. You want in there,
What
As
is
a
the
board?
3 points?
person that served the longest to run the meeting rather than the general manager, if there's no chair or vice chair.
Yeah, the general manager should really never run a meeting because they're not a board, they're not part of the board.
Right, it's just something we've
Yeah,
always defaulted to, and then, to do swearings prior to board meetings,
Mhm.
by notary public. Which would default over to the county clerk though, if there's no notary public available. And then,
As close to the first as possible.
yeah. And then the third one to get the board binder prior to the first board meeting.
And I would try to get that as soon as the election,
This election.
because we've got plenty of time to ask, maybe take a tour or.
Do we also want to take your
Yeah.
point about doing, if they've all served the same amount of time, do we want to have by last name
We did, but it was by age, I was trying to think of it was age.
or something in addition? Because otherwise you could potentially have another situation where nobody, it'd all be equal kind of.
Right.
Well, if the longest serving, there's potential, like, there might not be
Oh.
anybody that has served long.
Cause
longer than
we all
anyone
got
else.
sworn in this, whatever,
Yeah,
just remember the
say
time
like
that
next
order
time
they
it's-
got sworn in.
3 of us aren't here, as 4 new board
2
members,
seconds older than he is.
and they're all,
Well, it'd be technically by seniority then, is what.
It's usually by seniority and then by
seniority
age.
And then by age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so hopefully people aren't triplets.
As long as you're cognizant. Yeah.
I mean, there can be a lot of contingencies here, I guess.
Uh-huh,
Yeah.
that's why I'm saying just roll the dice.
You-
If I never really got
That's
it.
not a bad idea, it's like a random thing, like just, if it comes down to where, if.
Just
I
get
could, like,
somebody to do it, one of them to do it.
Yeah, if there's like some sort of issue. Not allowing longest serving or the age, then just make it roll dice or some sort of random.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah.
There you go.
That would be fun, actually.
I gave you a chance, best of
No,
stuff.
we're good for that.
A poker
There
hand.
should be some order to it, rather than just rock, paper, scissors.
Well, I'm just saying in the case of those
Because-
other things,
Yeah.
It's
Well,
never gonna come to
you
that.
draw,
No, I mean, that would be,
Move on,
that would be
man.
very, very
yeah,
rare.
you draw a toothpick or a star.
So,
All right. Okay,
So just those 3 points though, on that section. Correct?
I believe. And anything else,
Or-
like, that you want to bring up?
Wait, I'm trying to think. Would that fall under order of business? Yeah.
Is it, so it's not specified in here that it defaults to Robert's rules if these bylaws don't cover an issue? Is that right? I don't see it in here. Cause we could consider
I thought
adding.
there was something that would generally follow Robert's Rules of Order. Maybe it was in the protocols, but
Oh, okay. I did not get a chance to read that one yet.
I know that came up and I know you had something in there.
Mhm.
But it's hard to get into real strict reading of Robert's rules of order and have a viable meeting.
The
Really large.
500-page book. Yeah.
All these motions and sub motions and
Recognize
motions
it.
of priority and.
Was the officer's term remaining the same?
2 years.
It doesn't state 2 years, it says, and shall
just
not
2
serve
years.
more than 2 years in a row.
I think it's fine because we have a vote every year.
So it's still
Okay.
voting one every year?
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
The longest they could be would be for 2 years because there's only an election every other year. But
Just making sure I was understanding what the statement earlier.
Yeah,
But
That's good to have
it's really best, I think, to do it annually. Because if you just get tired of somebody, you can vote them out. Happens.
All right, is there anything else anybody would like to bring up regarding item 9.1, the board bylaws and board protocols? No?
No.
All right, so all those in favor of,
It has to be
Well, I could-
amended
oh,
and brought back. in
okay, so we're gonna
September.
table this, right?
It has to be amended and brought
Has
back
to be
in
amended
September.
and brought back in September. That's the language I'm gonna use.
Sure.
All right. So we'll go back to this in September. There's no meeting in August. All right. All right, new business, item 10.1, paid leave discussion.
So paid leave Oregon is a new benefit that has been mandated by state of Oregon. And we were given the opportunity to decide whether or not we wanted to participate in the state administrative plan, or if we wanted to have our own equivalent plan, and our equivalent plan had to be certified through the state. So the documentation that I provided just shows that the rates through the state plan, our Hartford plan, with no FICA tax and pulled out through that, and then the Hartford with FICA. We opted to have the FICA done through Hartford because it becomes a difficult and challenging thing to have it come back to us and then have us put it in through ADP where we do our payroll. It was much more difficult to reconcile. We have another plan that we have to do with the short-term disability, do that reconciliation. So we opted to go with the FICA administrated through Hartford. I've included the employee guidebook. It basically is giving 3 different very broad scenarios where it is very much like FMLA or OFA, where you have 12 weeks of protected leave. We have a setup through short-term or long-term disability, where if you are off for a medical reason, that insurance covers a portion of your salary. I believe it's 66.6% of your salary, which pretty much comes out to what your net wages are. A few of the people that we've had, their short-term disability payment is actually more than what they receive on their regular paycheck. This, however, requires that we go through an administrator, either the state, which we did not choose, or our own, which is Hartford. Somebody could potentially go out on a paid leave. All they have to do is request it. And qualify for it for 12 weeks for, say, the at birth of a child. So they don't have to be the one that had the child, but they could go out with their spouse for the birth of the child, adoption of a child, bringing another child into the home, like if you're taking on your grandchild, something along those lines. So they could have 12 weeks, which is paid through the plan. And then they could come back for a week and then have another qualifying event and go out for 12 more weeks. And then come back and have another qualifying event. So they could potentially go out 3 times within a year. And I, for the most part, I believe that our employees are not gonna abuse a plan like this. But we do have some employees that might find that this is interesting.
How is that even sustainable?
That's,
Taxes.
I mean, yeah. That
It's
is,
gonna get abused.
Well, of course, I mean, as a business, if you have a business, how are you gonna?
yeah, it's kind of insane.
Well, it's paid into the state, and so it's like a collective, the state, it becomes like an insurance agency. And so they're hopefully that they're collecting more, from everybody
They're
that's
gonna get really
working
good at denying,
than what's getting paid, so, yeah.
Mhm,
kind of like workers' comp, that's really hard to.
yeah,
When I try to get that one.
How is the
money.
employer supposed to keep his business open with that sort of thing going on?
Well, it doesn't cost, well, it does cost the business, so.
That's what I'm
yeah.
talking about.
it does,
You have an
and
employee that's not there.
our rate for the following year
Yeah.
will be based on our utilization starting September. That's when it goes into effect. So if we have a year that there is basically no participation in it, we don't utilize it, then our rate will potentially stay the same. And then if we have a high usage rate, then they will recalculate and we will have a different rate based on our usage.
The employer, not the employee, correct?
It's a split, it's a 60-40 split, so it's 1% of the total payroll. And the company pays, I believe we are the 60% and the employee is the 40.
So
Yeah.
so you still have to give some money, but you don't have an employee there to make money.
Correct.
So how is that sustainable? That's what I'm asking.
It has the potential of turning into a nightmare.
Well,
We
it's a
have
dis-
a difficult enough time finding
Because you
people
have
that,
secondary and tertiary.
This
Yes.
was on the books quite a while ago, right? It took like several years before.
yeah, and they're still rewriting the rules. I printed this out now, but there's
Yeah.
the potential that some of this might still change.
Business.
Mhm.
That's
Does-
crazy.
Does the state do FICA?
Pardon?
Does the state have a FICA plan? They pay FICA?
Yes, they all, if you do it through the state, then all of the contributions go to the state, but and it's administered through the employment department.
Uh-huh.
But had we opted to go with the state, we would have started making contributions in January, I believe it was.
Well, I'm just worried if we do something
Okay.
like that, we're not, people decide, hey, I'm not gonna show up, who's gonna drive the buses?
Right?
Can we switch to the state later? Because the state is cheaper, it's just that they're making you pay a whole year where the other ones aren't making you start, they're prorated.
Right, the self-funding that we figured in the long run is gonna be better for us. But
Why is that? Because it looks like it costs more.
only because we're having it administered the FICA.
I'll just jump in really quickly. I'm reading through our bylaws. Sorry, you guys, I'm trying to get familiar with this, but I potentially have a conflict of interest because I work in the insurance industry. And I don't know if I should be participating in this part of the discussion. I don't know whether or not it would be considered a conflict of interest, but I just want to throw it out there.
I would just say that she has a potential and not natural, which allows you
Yeah,
to
it's-
participate and vote, you just disclose it, you're good, you're good.
Okay.
It would be a potential because you wouldn't benefit from it.
Oh, that's it, yeah.
You don't benefit from any of it.
You have the knowledge of it.
Company that you guys may be purchasing through is a competitor of the insurance company I work for, so I think I will abstain On the vote.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, that's.
yeah.
Yeah, but you would just declare a potential conflict of interest, which allows you to participate and vote if you wanted to.
Okay, yeah, I'll just abstain probably.
And I'm not saying our drivers are just gonna say, hey, I think I'll just take off.
If-
I mean, I don't think they would do that, but I just have to worry.
Yeah, if you were a family member, could actually receive or lose money as a result of anything we talked about here. So like we're talking about real estate and you guys were into real estate or you own the property or you knew somebody that, you know, your family members did. Could benefit or lose money, then that would be an actual conflict of interest. And then you would have to excuse yourself. And generally we'll just have you sit off to the side and not participate at all in the discussion.
Okay.
So the state does not have the FICA. I misspoke.
So we would have to, we have to do that,
We would have to do it.
or does the employee that's receiving the money just have to pay it when they pay their taxes?
We would be responsible to pay our portion of it.
Okay,
So that's where it gets
it's only a
complicated.
couple $1,000 difference, but I just was
Yeah.
wondering, because I wasn't sure if we got stuck with it like PERS, you know?
With the employer and the employee costs, I was curious about that stuff. Are they paying $1,012 a month, the employee? And you're also paying $1,063, or is that split? for you guys?
No, so it is a total of 1%. So the employer pays a 0.6% and the employee pays 0.4%. So for every it's like the payroll tax, or I'm sorry, the transit tax.
That's like
Yeah, for it's
10%.
$1 per 1,000.
But with this, I'm just saying, curious because it says a monthly cost for the employee here, 1,012 with the Hartford.
It's annual.
Below it says annuals, 12,000.
Yeah, it's 8,000, yeah.
That's all employees, not one employee.
Okay, so this is for the whole, this
The whole-
this price is for
Oh,
UPTD.
Yes,
Okay.
for our.
That really-
That's not just one employee.
I was thinking that's
All employees.
extremely,
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I would have had a.
pretty good pay rates. You might want to go back and ride your bus here.
No, that's for the monthly volume of 168,745 that's shown there at the top.
okay, so that's spread amongst all employees, including call center.
Yes, all employees.
All right,
No, I would have had a panic attack. If I saw that. I would have had questions with the insurance.
So we just wanted to bring this to your attention as a discussion item and put it right out front that this has the potential of causing some serious issues as far as coverage of routes and things of that nature if people start taking advantage of it, not utilizing it as appropriate, but taking advantage of it. Of course, we want them to have the appropriate coverages that they need.
Yeah.
And that, you know, as you guys helped us set up the benefits, you know, that was one of the things that we talked about was having a benefits plan that would make people want to stay. And I believe that we have that. And so this just has the potential to create some issues where we don't currently have them.
Yeah, I mean, it's got good points and bad points. It just depends on the perspective, you know, you have a new baby, you know, it's great to have to spend this. You know, most people go back to work pretty soon because they can only afford to stay home for so long. And this allows you to stay home and have that time with that new child, but at the same time, it impacts the employer. You know.
This is if your wife had the baby and you decided you wanted to stay home for 12 weeks, you would also get paid
Mhm.
for 12
But I
weeks.
might not have otherwise, or maybe I would have for in a few weeks or something, and that would have been it.
Yeah,
Yeah, but now it's like, oh, I get some pay, so now maybe that 3 weeks becomes 6 weeks, or it becomes 8 weeks.
well, it could increase the population of those.
Yeah.
One reason the population increases.
My hope is that people will, you know, be team players here and understand the situation and not leave us hanging, you know, and you have quality employees who wouldn't take advantage of things like that, but, you know, you've got to add some things in there maybe to deterrent? I don't know how you would do that, or.
It's just open to a lot of different. The
Yeah, it's
problem
just
with
so
it
many.
is it's open to, it's so broad in some of the categories.
Yeah,
That it's just hard to really put some sideboards on it and say, oh, it's only these activities. It can be a whole range of things.
Isn't that written into the law though?
It is, that's how the law's written.
So there's not a whole lot of
That's where
option on.
the rules come, administrative rules come into play, then as they're writing the rules, they can kind of define that a little bit as long as it's still in keeping with the regulations.
Right.
Yeah.
It can still be modified, it sounds like.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, I knew it had become law, so I didn't know how much leeway we had to actually.
We don't have any.
I'm curious, how this will affect the, budget that's starting this month for the year.
We don't know until we find out what, I mean, this is built into the budget.
Okay,
It is something that we had the quote and everything
yeah.
taken care of back in, I believe it was March when we finished stuff.
What would have been under on, like, in the budget, like, generally?
Oh, well, I would have it's a line item.
Yeah, we can look at it maybe the next time, I'm just curious,
Mhm.
to pinpoint more. Does the transit district have like an extra board?
We're working on that. We do not right at this moment because we don't have enough drivers. All the people that we would consider to be on that extra board
Yeah,
are scheduled every single week.
Is that substitutes? Is that what the next one is?
sort of,
Yes.
like when I did it for TriMet, you're actually paid no matter what.
Mhm.
So you can sit in the building for like 8 hours. And if you don't get any work, they pay you 8 hours. But then you could potentially work like 16 hours, because maybe somebody calls out sick or something.
Mhm.
But it is really handy, but even with that, I mean, you can still run out of people. but-
Our discussion regarding extra board would be that we would pay them for the first 4 hours of the day.
Yeah,
Have a list of duties that they could participate in during that time. In the event that nobody called in the event that somebody called in, or we needed, like, say, a bus to go replace a broken down bus, something along those lines, we could have them take care of that. But if nobody's called in and doesn't need a replacement, by the 4th hour, usually, by the 4th hour, whether or not you're gonna need a replacement, then at that point, we would send them home.
be tricky to find somebody that would want that,
That would accept the 4 hours.
that sort of schedule.
Yeah, we have a few.
Yeah.
And if we built it into the schedules so that it goes onto the schedules that are not fully 40 hours yet. Then there's.
Oh, I see, so like they could drive a bus for 4 hours and they'd be on the extra board for 4 hours, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So, this was more informational than anything else. I did put the link to
All right.
the actual law of the bill. And so that's a lot of very stimulating reading. Yeah, so.
And it's not, the last thing that the insurance agent explained was that they're not finalizing that bill until August 11th.
Is that what it was?
Yeah,
August
August
11th?
11th, so we're not even 100% certain if it's going to happen in September or not until August.
So people have been paying since January, and they've been paying.
I don't believe anybody's actually fully been paying.
Yeah, I think we've been paying since January.
It's,
It doesn't start until September. They can't pay out until September.
yeah, anybody that went with the state
With the
plan
state,
started
right,
paying in
okay.
January, yeah.
Yeah, just discussions I've had with the insurance
All
agent.
right.
Yeah, we've been going round and round on that.
Any further discussion on item 10.1 paid leave, Oregon,
Okay.
10.2? Oh, we're moving on to 10.2?
Mhm.
Okay,
Oh, yes, unless anybody had any more discussion regarding the.
yeah,
Okay, all right, so item 10.2 is board training. And as you know, our special districts provides board training, and it does make a difference in the cost of our insurance. We do get a reduction in our insurance, our total insurance was a 5% reduction if we meet all of the criteria. So it's actually very beneficial for you guys to take the training. And it seems as if there's a requirement for training as well. And so there are 2 pages here. One of them is,
I think they ask us every year if we get on board training to our board members.
yes. So the handout here that is the special districts board training. That one is, it's put on by special districts. You have your choice of dates from August 2nd through August 23rd. And it is a minimal cost, and the district can cover that cost. We can reimburse that cost. And it gives the list of
2 different trainings. This first page is for board member duties, liabilities and responsibilities, and then the second page is for board member relations, expectations and ethics.
yes. So there's 2 sets of dates. That's okay.
Is any of it online or is it all
It's
at
in
those locations?
person.
It's all in person this time around. Yes. Yeah. So if you are interested, that is absolutely something that I would recommend doing.
So for the insurance, is that every board member or is it some board members?
So they, when we got sanctioned, when we had the one issue from Secretary of State, they actually, that was a requirement that every board member take board training after that situation happened. So I believe that we are required to continue doing that going forward, but I can actually, Christine knows where to check better than I do.
But it doesn't have to be one of these trainings. It has to be.
No, and then the other page is the information about the joint Oregon-Washington State Conference. So that is going to be held in Vancouver. And they have come out with a list of sessions that are Oregon-led sessions. And that is the list of, but you're not limited to taking just those. Those are just the ones that are led by Oregon. And that is also a really good training opportunity to learn more about public transit. But it is really much more focused on the operations than it is on the board governance of it.
So you would recommend going to both?
If
They cover different things.
they do cover different things, yes.
There's 3 training opportunities.
Mhm.
One's like, 3 days total, isn't it? The conference.
The conference, yeah.
And we can create training here too.
Yes, we can actually have the special districts trainers either come here and train like on a Saturday, or we could pick it another day.
That'd be really helpful.
Or we could do it like we did before on the Zoom and have the training done that way. The only reason they couldn't come in person was because it was COVID and they weren't allowed to travel at that point. So.
Yeah, I have to take time off work. I'm happy to do, I think I'm probably gonna get to the one for the board member duties. But I'd have to stay out of time and work to go to the stuff during the day, but if we could have stuff locally, that would be really great.
Got all those CDs too,
Yes, we do. We
CDs.
have CDs.
although the public meeting is still sitting on my
Like
desk.
literally CDs. Okay, and you can take tests or something. It's like certified training. or something.
We did, I just.
I don't think there's tests on it. There's
But it
just
counts for training?
somebody's talking.
Sitting there for a year.
It's informational.
Okay, so it wouldn't count for the training. Okay.
Okay, any questions about the board training?
So we pay for the board trainings ourselves and then just request reimbursement.
Request reimbursement, yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, perfect.
Did the district just pay it?
We could, but then we have no, yeah, we have no way of knowing for certain that they actually took the training.
But if somebody paid for it and you reimbursed them, you have no way of knowing that they actually took the training either.
Well, they would have their attendance. You know, so for me, when I go to the training, I have my registration that I pay
Mhm.
and the hotel that I stay at, the mileage reimbursement.
But it doesn't show you that you necessarily attended anything, but yeah. Just saying.
Devil's advocate.
Okay. So, yes,
It just seems like.
It's a calculation.
And so this one, if you register early, then ODOT pays up to $1,500.
for
Scholarship?
scholarship, yes. So here for our agency, because that one covers more of the operations. We have, Christine would be attending, I would be attending, our operations manager, our transit supervisor, and our transit, our dispatch supervisor. So all of the management would be attending. So that would pretty much cover that, but we would still, I mean, that they will reimburse up to 80%.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's also, at least for the 2 classes that aren't in the conference, SDAO will pay for your first class, if you put that code in, I believe, as long as,
Oh, I did see that. Yeah.
I don't know if it's,
If it's the first person to register for.
yeah, it has to be the first person,
Oh, okay.
but I haven't registered yet.
Is that for every location too? Or each
Of the district, it's how special district does it is when they provide a code. It's the first person of the district, of the special district that registers gets with that code, gets that discount
Is it for that class or any class?
for that specific code.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
It looks like these
me
are all just 1-day events, right? It's just a 1-day training. You
Yes.
just travel there and back that day.
Except for the conference.
Right. Conferences, yeah.
Right. Finish discussing that, the subject of the 10.2 board training, we'll move on to 10.3 fiscal year 21 audit discussion, our findings, audit findings.
Right, so the 2021 audit, we turned into ODOT back in, I believe it was December. And the email that I forwarded to you indicated that the findings had been listed, but the letter to the board had not been signed yet. So the person that was in that position is no longer in that position, so they're seeking the interim signature. So basically the letter says, here's our findings, and it was in the spreadsheet. What I found in going through it is the findings are the exact same findings that I went through in the 1920 audit. And so the spreadsheet that I forwarded to you, and it's also part of the packet here as well. All of the audit findings already have our responses put in there as well. But there are audit responses to the 2020. So I need to have a discussion with our ODOT representative to find out what exactly that we're looking at here. Because it seems to me that the only thing that has been changed is where it says finding at the beginning of the spreadsheet. This one says finding 2021-1. In the previous year, it was finding 2020-1, and they were all exactly the same. With all of the recommendations being exactly the same, and the documents requested and the response to that. I feel personally that there were changes that I need to dig deeper and see what they were that need to be noted on here. But I just received 2022 audit as well. And so I was knee deep in that when this came through. And so I've got
Basically,
three.
it looks like it's a bunch of stuff that's in relation to the early formation of the district,
And not having a finance manager.
right? And a finance manager, we hired
She-
accounting firm who does financial audits for government agencies, but didn't specialize in transit.
Yes,
To track grants and to specifically line item the costs against those grants, the specific grants
correct.
in different accounts, so.
Yes, and they wanted us to be able to
So we had a
run.
finance manager, we walked, we've already walked, yeah, some,
Yeah.
I think we've already addressed most of, if not everything there.
I think that we've addressed everything, but I need to be able to go back through it and see, make sure that I'm not signing off on something that isn't exactly accurate.
So you might come back to us with more information.
More information in September, probably a finalized one for you to be able to approve.
And also, haven't we gone with a new auditor? Right.
Yes, we have Umpqua Valley Financial is our auditor at this time.
But I don't think it's the financial audit piece as much as it is the FTA transit audit. It relates specifically to that. It's not a managing the finances, it's managing transit finances and accounting for the specific transit grants.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there an audit every year or just when there are deficiencies found?
No, every year, and then when we go over, I believe it is 900,000, and then there is a single audit as well. So basically two audits, one is much more in depth,
Okay.
yeah. Yes, and it's hard to see that word deficiencies.
Yes.
Not my favorite. Yeah.
All right, no further discussion on 10.3, moving on to item number 11, project updates.
So I have met with IE Engineering and we have a preliminary. Drawing.
Lovely.
The-
What is it?
It's 3 rectangles.
Well, we sit right
Actually,
here.
I recognize it, yeah.
Yeah, this is us, it's not to scale.
It's the bottom piece and the hillsides in the back.
Okay.
And
Angle
to
parking.
travel and the preventive maintenance building, the above ground fleet fueling, the electric vehicle structure and the bus wash, the path of travel up and over to the top where the structure for the regular bus parking would be. So that's the preliminary. We're also leaving the hydrogen piece in there so that we know what specifically the city would want in the event that we choose to do that within city limits. But the recommendation is that we probably would want to do that outside of city limits so that we could drill our own well. So next step is the pre-application conference with City of Red. And they'll basically tell us whether or not we can do what we want to do. And then if we can, what are the requirements to make that happen? Which then gives us that bullet list that we can start working towards as far as putting the NEPA together. And that would be our next step after the pre-application conference would be the NEPA process.
I saw a land use notice too for the piece right to the north of that. One of those pieces from George Gibby,
Yes,
who was doing something, I don't remember what it was, but
it was regarding the right of way. So there is a right of way that comes in right down here at the city of
there was an
Roseburg.
easement or something that went up
Mhm.
there.
And that-
Maybe he was partitioning it or something, but.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it looks like he's probably gonna go with access through a different spot for that property up above.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, but
adventure or something up there.
yeah, but the easement would not prevent us from being able to do what we want to do with the property. In addition,
Well, I just was wondering, does it keep it? So, I mean, there's an easement that he has to the access on Highway 138 that has to go through there, so just making sure that we can keep all of that
yes,
secure and still allow that movement to happen to other property.
yes. And the wetlands delineation, they said, as long as we are not disturbing, then there is nothing that we would need to do. There's unless we start filling it,
Mhm.
there's not an issue with that, so. yeah,
Are you installing sidewalk
We'll have to,
along
How
that?
much traffic would be going on that easement eventually?
depend on what they decide to put up there.
Mhm.
Yeah. It is currently a zoned forest farm. But I believe they were requesting a different zoning, but
Yeah, I think
I'm
it's a
not sure.
residential.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how it all moves forward. We are due for the delivery of the electric.
Charge.
Yes, the chargers and pedestals.
Where
Charger
are
and
we gonna
pedestal.
store this, in the garage or?
Gonna, yeah, the footprint with the pallets and everything will actually fit inside the garage. So it's not as big as I thought it would be. So that's a bonus. We'll
Should we,
just have to
should we
clean the
give the
garage.
Reader's Digest version of what we're trying to do for our new members here, so they're not.
So we received two federal 5339 grants. One is for the development of the property so that we can have parking and a preventive maintenance facility. Right now, our preventive maintenance is farmed out to primarily BNS Automotive over in Winston.
Okay.
And some of it can go up to the one in Wilbur, Sodi. But they kind of have a non-compete clause with each other. So unless it's something that BNS can't do, then Sodi would decline to take it. So, you know, there just aren't a whole lot of people that will work on vehicles the size that we have. So we'll be building a preventive maintenance facility so that we can do our maintenance on site. That creates an immediate reduction in cost because right now we have right about 25 vehicles that are going a 15-mile round trip at least once a month, a lot of them twice a month over to Winston to get service done. So being able to do that on site, you know, there's we would have to hire somebody, but we wouldn't be paying somebody. There wouldn't be the travel time and there wouldn't be the mileage as well. So, yeah, it'll make us more cost effective in the long run. So one of the things the federal government has done is they have tied some of the funding to specific types of vehicles. And so right now, of course, what they're going after is they're pushing toward electric vehicles, green energy. So we applied for what they call a low-no grant, which is the electric buses that we applied for. At the same time that we applied for that, we applied for the rest of the funding for the infrastructure to be able to build the parking and things of that nature, the bus wash. And we were shocked because we got it. We got both of the grants. And so we have about 7.5 million, I believe, available to be able to develop the property. Initially, we were gonna develop the property that is here on the other side. Like as you're going down the hill, it goes up the hill there. But in the process of purchasing that property, there was a step that was missed, and they will not allow us to use federal funds to develop that property. So that's why we're looking at these other properties that surround this property in order to be able to purchase and develop the
So
district.
as far as develop, I listened in on the last conversation. I couldn't hear well. But, you know, I heard about the chargers and issue that I'm assuming that some of the buses that are coming are electric.
Three.
And they're gonna need a charging station. Okay.
Which will be located here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and going back a little bit further, I don't know if you know the history of UPTD going on right now, but they basically had to start from scratch.
Right.
And this was a few years ago, and I was around because Mike was one of the first board members and the first chair. And Cheryl, they were all in a different outfit, and they had to create UPTD, basically. So this building, everything is just raw. They bought the building, now we're trying to expand, now we're trying to make this into a real transportation outfit, you know?
It's why they had findings. and
Right.
things, Because we couldn't afford a finance manager, we couldn't.
Right.
So as we built this thing to something that now we have all
So
these.
you're
pieces.
coming in right where we're just now starting to really
The fun
get some
part.
exciting stuff done. Yeah.
Right.
So now,
Oh,
go ahead.
I was just trying to get a feel for the percentage of, you know, but to get the grants to develop property, how much we're really investing in electric vehicles. I also heard talk about E99 fuel
Oh, the R99.
R99. And the availability of it and how a sustained supply of it and how much of that's going to be consumed for running the buses. One of the first things I did after the meeting was I called Andrew Shercliffe and said, "Hey, Andrew, where do you buy R99 fuel?" I said, "I have no idea where to get it."
Carson.
She knows all that.
Carson will deliver it.
Out of where?
Eugene.
Yeah.
So one of the things I liked about Cheryl when she talked about all the stuff was, we're not going to all electric buses. We're gonna have some diesel, we'll have some electric. We're also taking a look at hydrogen fuel cell and, you know, some of
We're
those
very
other.
Right.
Other ones. So if something happens to one, you still have some buses.
Right,
Run.
I just had this red light go off because it sounded like all the buses coming in were gonna be electric, and I'm like,
No.
okay, we're gonna invest in all this, and then
No.
the grants are gonna drop in 2
No.
years.
We're doing several different kinds of buses, because what if one thing goes down and one thing doesn't work, and we still have operating buses no
Right.
matter what happens.
Right, and right now, we have 14 diesel buses, and we are at the highest in preventive maintenance that we've ever paid. And the cost of repair for basically the DEF system it destroys us. It's expensive to repair, it's expensive to replace, the sensors go out, it gets clogged up. And the benefit of the R99 fuel, if you buy it in bulk, you're gonna pay about the same amount that you would be paying at the pump if you were buying just regular diesel, but it runs so clean that you don't have all of those filters clogging and the same issues. And so the model that I looked at initially when I was researching R99 fuel is actually City of Portland, their sanitary, the garbage, and they moved their garbage trucks from regular diesel to R99 diesel, and their preventive costs reduced by about 2,000 per vehicle per month as an average for that.
But for how long? Were
That
they new buses, and is it comparing?
no, they took their regular.
They're dump trucks.
Their regular,
You can convert those.
and you don't have to convert them, you just put different fuel in them, and it
Okay.
burns so clean that it cleans the system out. And then, you don't have all of the clogging issues.
Maintenance problems.
Yeah, and so they've been using it for about, I wanna say 5 years now, maybe 6, long enough that they've got a track record. And it really works well. So, and it's not something that we would have to do anything to the buses that are sitting out here. We just put different fuel in them and they would start immediately running better. And it would reduce our preventive maintenance costs. So that's why we're looking at R99, but it also gives us the opportunity to have on-site fueling. So in the event that there's some kind of a catastrophe, then we're not subject to, you know, the fuel station not working.
Right.
It would have a built-in generator that could actually run off of the fuel that's in the tank to be able to fuel the vehicles, you know, so we would still be able to run. And then for the electric, we're gonna put solar on top of all of the new construction that we do, so that it will offset not just part of the cost of charging the buses, because it's expensive to charge them. But it will also do like a battery backup that would still give us some charging, maybe not a full charge, in the event that our electrical grid went down. And so that's kind of what we're looking at. Is I personally don't feel like the solution to all of our transportation needs lies in electric vehicles.
Right.
And the more that we can do to have a backup on site that we have control over for our fueling costs and needs, the better off we are. And then the hydrogen is something that if we can do it, I mean, we're still in the planning phases of it. But if we can do it, a kilogram of hydrogen is the equivalent of a gallon of diesel or a gallon of gas. And so you're gonna get about that same range. But the hydrogen is the truly clean fuel, because you make it with electricity, which around here, most of our electricity is from the water. And then when it burns, the only byproduct is water. So when they're pushing green energy, they're pushing for electric vehicles. What I'm looking at is what we have to do in order to get more buses and keep going, then the way to go is the hydrogen. And then on top of that, if we create our own hydrogen and make a hydrogen fueling station that is available to, say, other commercial fleets, like if the county or the city wanted to commercially fuel vehicles, wouldn't have to be buses, but any vehicle with hydrogen,
They can buy it from us.
they could buy it from us.
And
Yes,
that would be generate money.
Generate revenue.
yes.
Yeah, and I feel a whole lot better after having asked the question, because I walked away thinking, oh boy, we're going all green. We're relying on grants. We're going all green. We get a new administration in the White House. These grants go away. They're gonna drop them. And what are we left with?
We got a lot. We got a lot.
So I'm all for diversifying fuel sources.
Because this
It
lady
makes
has thought
sense.
of everything, and she is the fountain of knowledge. I mean, she does her homework. If you have a question, you ask her, she knows the answer. If she doesn't, she'll find out.
Yes.
That's why she's who she is, why we have her sitting
We're
over
able to
there.
get further information on the water rights. For the,
For here,
well, if you're gonna be doing the hydrogen from water, will you need water rights or?
right, so if we do, that's the pre-application.
Water
Pre-application
She's talking
conference.
about drilling a well.
You
that
can't
would
drill a
be-
well in the city.
No,
So you have to get water rights, right?
that would be if we got if okay.
City has to serve it.
We're keeping the hydrogen in the plan so that we'll know what the city would require. But the smarter move would be if we get funded for that, to purchase another piece of land that is not within the city limits and build it as a separate hydrogen fueling station.
You buy one that already has water rights.
Yes, water rights or well, one or the other. Mhm.
Well, because with the well, I mean, if you don't have water rights for the well, then you're.
Why would you do it outside the city? If you're looking for potential fleet use.
Well, there's potentially a property that's a mile down the road.
I mean, it'd have to be past Sunshine Park for land use laws not to take it. Well, the city actually has annexed everything up to Sunshine Park.
Oh, have it?
Yeah.
No, this one is out by the Forest Service.
That's before sunshine.
Unless it's in the back, maybe it's in the back there somewhere.
I'll have to take a look.
Yeah, 'cause
This is
if
primarily
they
if the city has
annex
some requirements that would be difficult to meet, right?
Yes. Yes, otherwise, if not, then the hydrogen electrolysis station that would generate 700 kilograms of hydrogen per day. That one is about the size of a semi trailer. I mean, they can actually transport them on a semi trailer, and you can leave it portable or you can install it as a fixed unit. So it's a small enough footprint that if it's not too difficult to do it within the city limits, then we would be able to incorporate that into our plan.
Be interesting to see what the obstacles are in the city limits, because ordinance need to be written. And, you know, for an emerging technology like that, that might be something that's, you know, of course, was never considered before. So it
Exactly,
might be something they might think about.
yeah. Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to see how it goes. So those are really the only updates that I have on the two grants.
Did we finish NEPA?
No, NEPA I can't do until we do the pre-application conference. Yeah. Yeah, so I have the application pretty much put together, but I don't have the wetlands delineation wording in there because I need to find out what the city says about it. And then it would, there's a couple other things that are gonna be based on, because you have to really describe the project and, you know, how deep into the ground you're gonna go with various different things. So there's still some work to do on it that I have to wait until I get that conference done.
And so then with the maintenance building that we're building. I'm assuming you have to staff that then, so are we increasing staffing?
So we actually have a employee currently that he's an electrical engineer. So he would be able to, he knows how to work with the high voltage electricity. So he'd be able to work on the electric buses. And he used to manage a diesel fleet as well. So he has that information. Is that me? That's
No,
doing
it's me,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
What?
That's why I didn't take it off the table, because she's like the serial texter. Sorry.
So we actually have somebody that is walking with me through this process. That he's a driver. He retired from his business. He's a driver, and I'm sending him to the zero emission bus conference to get more information about how the electric vehicles work. But we've already got somebody on staff that can step into that position and help to design the preventive maintenance facility the way it needs to be. Because I know it looks nice.
But we probably have a diesel mechanic, yeah.
Yeah, so we would, but it would be probably less expensive to hire somebody to do those things than to pay the rate that we pay.
And less downtime.
Yes, less downtime.
So you're thinking one employee?
Probably two, because you don't want to have somebody working on vehicles all by themselves. Yeah.
Especially big buses.
Yeah, there's the potential of, it's a safety issue, yeah. All right, so I think that's all I've got for that.
So I'm 13 is ODA update, but I'm not sure Jennifer Boardman.
Well, I just have put something on the homeless thing. On the property back there,
Oh, so the tree that's halfway up the hill.
yeah,
So somebody has been, camping out underneath the tree. And so we have, printed out a letter and let them know that this is private property and that they can't camp there, and put it on their bedroll with a rock so it doesn't blow away. Yes, that's my manager's report.
are they move or?
They did, the bedroll is still there, and so is the rock with the note, but all of the rest of the stuff is gone. So, we haven't pulled it out from under there, but at the same time that happened, somebody has actually been halfway between the tree and the fence. They've been driving that onto the property. And so there is a collection of beer cans and beer bottles that is growing.
Well, that's taking down their cash and.
I'll be happy,
Right?
I'll be happy to drive up there and sit there and wait for him.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. So let's see. Are any questions on the general manager's report?
Are you planning to do the ridership stuff now?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, the first page here is the rolling ridership for just fixed route. So that gives you the ridership by month, by route, and the total ridership for each month from July 22 forward to June 2023. So we are back up to 87,839 for the fiscal year. I much prefer this version, which is the next page over, which gives you the red bar is 2021, the blue bar is 21-22, and then the purple is 22-23. So you can see the decrease in ridership that was in effect because COVID already hit, yeah. And then you can see that it's been steadily increasing really since about January of 2021, that's it there. Yeah. So we are still not back to our pre-COVID ridership numbers, but we're within about 20,000 of what we were prior to COVID hitting. So still have some work to do, but that is let's see, it was a total of a 58% increase, 58.12% increase from 21-22 to 22-23. So I was really excited to see that. And then continuing on, it shows ridership for our demand response. This does not include any of the medical transportation rides. So there is a number that I did not get pulled for this report, but I should have it for you this next in the next round. And this just shows by the different modes. So our paratransit, of course, is the paratransit and Umpqua rides there in the blue. And Umpqua rides is actually orange. So those are the ones that we actually employ, the people that drive the vehicles. City of Reedsport has 3 vehicles, but they have about 2.5 drivers. Mercy Express had 3 drivers, 3 vehicles for most of the year. And then they decided in April that they no longer wanted to continue as a provider of dial-a-ride services. And that was a budgetary decision that their board, they had an offsite retreat where they had discussion for several days about whether or not they were gonna continue with the service, and the end result was that they ended their contract as of May 22nd. And so we brought those 3 vehicles over and absorbed them here. And then we did interview all of their drivers, but only 2.5, we got 2 and a part-timer. Drivers came over with the vehicles. So we were able to continue the same level of service, even though it's very unexpected end of the contract. So that's where we are. We are.
What's the demand versus the ability to supply drivers for that?
So if we had more vehicles, which we will have more vehicles in about 2 weeks. We actually have 3 vehicles. I've seen them, they're real. We ordered them 2 years ago, so we've been waiting for our vehicles for 2 years. For the paratransit demand response van drivers, we have 200+ applications sitting in our queue. For the bus drivers, the challenge is getting the passenger endorsement. And so that it's a much more difficult thing to fulfill, because we don't have a space that is large enough to qualify as the trainer for the passenger endorsement piece of it. We have somebody that can train to it, but we don't have you have to have I want to say a track, but that's not exact, a course.
The county fairgrounds parking lot.
So we checked into that, and yes, for like $750 a day, we could do that. So if we only needed it for 1 day and we could get 3 or 4 drivers through all at the same time, it would really be worth it. But it requires some ongoing training, several days in a row. So once we have the site started and have a blacktop area that is large enough to be able to do the course on.
I wonder if UCC has something, they have a truck driving school.
They have the truck driving school, yes. And that's one of the things that I tasked Randy is checking with UCC because there is just a little blurb on their website that says that there can be employer-based classes. So that gave me the impression that as an employer, we could say, hey, we've got these 3 applicants that we would like to get passenger endorsements.
And what it's all about, CDLs and.
Yeah, and we could pay for that, and most likely that would take place down at the spot down there, yeah. So when Randy reached out, the person that he needed to speak to was on vacation. So when Randy comes back from vacation, we'll follow up on that some more. Yeah, so that is the next option. So yeah, it's much more difficult to get the CDL drivers with passenger endorsements. We had 2 of them come in over the weekend. I was super excited and opened them up today, and they're Class A CDL, but they don't have the passenger endorsement. You used to be able to just go to DMV and take a written test and then go and you had your passenger endorsement. Now they require that you go through the whole, you have to have the right class of vehicle, and you go through the pre-trip and the drive test and everything in order to get that endorsement added to your license. So it's a much more labor intensive. I believe you have to have 16 hours behind the wheel and 16 hours of classroom time in order to do it. So we're just not quite set up to be able to do that yet, but it's coming. Yeah.
The reason why I was asking about the medical transportation is it sounded like it was moving
Oh, so the medical transportation is a little bit different. So we have a brokerage that is Umpqua Health Alliance. They contract with the brokerage to provide the Oregon Health Plan rides. Bay City's brokerage was our brokerage up until a year and a half ago. At which point UHA replaced them with another brokerage that was MTM. MTM for us, it was a much more cost-effective way of doing business. They gave what was an extremely reasonable rate for the pickup and the cost per mile. And the billing was done weekly. We got weekly checks for everything that we did. We currently have 3 volunteer drivers that take ambulatory passengers. And we have 3 drivers that take the wheelchair passengers. And they don't allow us to share those rides unless they're all getting picked up at the same place and all going to the same place. So most of them are single occupant as far as the passenger goes. They just moved back to Bay City's brokerage as of the 1st of July, and Bay City's has the same business model that they did previously. So we have already, and we're not even 2 weeks in, seen a drop in the number of rides that we're receiving. So, and it is at a lower cost that they're paying as well. So, lucky for us, we have other places that we can use the vehicles and the drivers to provide service for the outlying areas like City of Glendale. The senior services has requested that we do the dining site there, that we pick up groups of people to take them to the dining site. And then the driver would be able to have lunch with them and then return them to their homes. So that's one option, to be able to utilize a vehicle for a portion of the day. Glide also has the same situation going on up there, that they have a dining site that people would, the senior services, Douglas County Senior Services, would put us in touch with people that are looking for rides. And so we can develop that partnership. So there are definitely places that we can put those vehicles to use in the event that we cannot fill them with the medical transportation rides. But the medical transportation rides are the match money that we need for the grants, for the federal and state grants. So that's our concern there, but we're also looking at advertising for a revenue stream as well. The advertisements on the side of the bus kind of seems to go in waves. You know, we fill them all up and then they all go away, and then we fill them up again, but at least we're filling them up again. So there was a long period of time when we didn't have any advertising. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes. Yeah. We're hoping that the volume does not drop excessively for a period of time, but I don't know. I just don't know. Yeah.
As long as it's not costing us money.
No, at this point, it's not costing us money. And that's something that Selena and I have gone over is since we've got the medical transportation separated out, looking at what that number needs to be in order to ensure that we're breaking even at least. Yeah. Any other questions? What else did I do? What did I do? I went on vacation.
Yeah.
And I sent my daughter off. She's out on a ship now for the next 9 months.
Exciting.
Marine. Yeah, she's a special ops combat trained Marine Expeditionary Unit.
Wow.
Yeah, it's, that's a scary name. They haven't done that in 20 years.
What kind of ship is she on?
She's on the baton, a wasp carrier. So it's smaller than the bigger aircraft carriers. Yeah, but it's still a big ship. Yeah. So
Must be so proud.
I'm very proud and very nervous because the state of our world right now, you know. When she started out, it would have just been like an adventure cruise, and that's not the case now, so. Yeah, very new. She just sent me the picture as she was leaving shore this morning, so. Yeah.
Well, we'll all pray that they're safe.
Yes,
exactly.
I'll keep her on my thoughts.
Yeah. Thank you.
So the next item on the agenda is ODOT update, but I don't believe Jennifer is here.
She is not here. They have a lot of positions that they're working on filling, and as they fill some positions, then other people's leave to take different positions. So it's like this ongoing.
She was the administrator for public transit and rail left. And so
Yeah.
they canceled all recruitments and they're kind of restart with that one, so they get the managers, then they keep the public transit division, so.
Yeah, the administrator.
There's a whole bunch of positions under it that are, so it's kind of starting with the top and then working their way back down.
Yeah, everything changed.
It's a small division.
Well, in that case, we'll move on to item 14. Anything not on the agenda people would like to bring up?
I don't have anything.
There was something that we discussed that we thought we could put that on, not on agenda.
I only have stuff on agenda though.
The audit findings was coming back, I think you're out of the.
Oh, yeah, so that would be the not on agenda. Our 22-23 audit. I'm going through those findings and making sure that everything matches up with what the auditor put in the clearinghouse and what is on the audit. This is the year where you will see a lot of the findings from the previous years fall off because we implemented, as discussed earlier, the changes. We hired the finance manager. We started running reports out of QuickBooks for the grant management piece of it, and I'm not doing that on a spreadsheet anymore, and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, we've come so far.
Moving on up.
When we started, we had no employees. We had no property,
We had no money.
no money.
Nothing.
We operated for 9 months. without
Mike
money.
worked, and Cheryl, they worked so hard to get this to where it is now.
Mike started our bank account with $20 out of his own pocket.
Aw.
So,
I
yeah.
wrote the ordinances. Resolutions and the financial policies and the.
Yeah.
Trying to get us some money.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
We could change it,
When I go back
They
on
got
those, I
sworn
can
in.
tell.
yeah,
So what I
December of
read them, I'm like, oh.
2015.
Yeah.
I had to learn how to write this.
Yeah,
We're getting more sophisticated as we go.
yeah. We've learned to roll with the punches.
Yeah.
We got no help from Douglas County.
They overcame so much adversity. It's just amazing that we are still here and they're doing so well and, you know.
I was sitting in the insurance office, looking at insurance for the board, and he's like, "What's your address?" And I'm like, "You know, the address." And so I just gave him the one on the little corner office in Rose, but Daddy, I didn't even talk to you. I just like, "Yeah, okay, it's this." And I was like, "That's close enough."
Yeah.
That's the only office I knew existed,
Yeah,
was when,
Oh, they're
On
at the corner
Jackson.
of, oh, yeah, so
Ross
on
and-
Jackson, that is our new office, the one in Gary Leaf's old office. Yeah, that's our downtown, the public facing office.
We even needed a logo.
Oh, yes.
And I
Chance to that, right?
I did that. I was before I was a board member and I did it as a volunteer. So
Oh.
that we had a logo. It was fun. Yeah, they chose it. I just put it together.
Yeah, they voted on a group of them that one day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Before my time.
yeah, so. and
All right.
Cheryl and her entire staff just, they've all been phenomenal.
Oh,
was
there might have
long.
been some,
It was just.
Oh, okay.
That was that thing I just see.
they said,
Wow.
I could not do it without Christine.
Mm-hmm,
Christine is the one that has all of that Secretary of State knowledge
yeah,
of what you can and you can't do, and she keeps us focused
I must
on,
applaud her as well.
yes.
I don't know what we do without these people.
Yes.
Organized.
Yeah.
All right, so move on to 15. I don't think there's any public comments, so move on to item 16, agenda build. So
Oh, did we cover the fact that we are not gonna have a
August.
meeting in August?
I mentioned it briefly. I don't know if they caught it.
I read it, yeah.
Yeah, and that's because the conference that's happening up there in Vancouver, that takes both of us and a lot of our staff away for that. Yeah. And possibly you guys.
Yep, if you would like to go.
And so the next meeting would be the second Monday of September.
Yes.
Perfect.
So yeah, the agenda build, we want to talk about the board bylaws. Some updates, right?
That comes back, yeah. Then bank signatories,
Oh, yeah,
We're
I
doing
have that ready.
and then just the normal project updates. Potential executive session if it's needed, and then the FY 21 audit. Because we need time to go through it and make sure it's correct. That's all I've got.
That's it.
Is there anything we should be prepared for possible executive session? Is that like, is there in
The property.
okay,
If you see a letter on there, then you know there's an executive session. If there's no letter in parentheses, then no
I
executive session.
see, okay. Yeah, so, okay, thank you.
Yeah, in the board packet, like when I send that out for.
It'll be in
meeting,
there.
It'll, if
Okay.
there is one, you'll see it,
And you'll see the purpose. It'll say.
and I'll give you one.
Cite that little subsection.
Be prepared
Yeah.
to discuss this. Okay, thank you so much.
Oh, in that case, 7:13, I call the meeting adjourned.
That's awesome. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, stop this.